And now I see the time series, and so you have an opportunity to really take control of your own happiness. And to me, this is the pinnacle of all that 25 years worth of work.
표면적으로만 성공한 사람들의 이야기를 이해한다면 우리는 성공하는 법에만 초점을 맞추는 이론가가 될 위험이 있습니다. 그들이 어떤 강렬한 열망을 가지게 된 배경과 상황을 이해하면 어디서부터 시작해야 하는지에 대한 출발점을 더 쉽게 찾을 수 있습니다. 결국 성공하고 돈 버는 법을 효과적으로 활용하려면 먼저 자신이 어떤 열망을 가지고 있는지 알아야 합니다. 그렇다면 강렬한 성공에 대한 열망만 있으면 모두 성공할 수 있을까요? 정신역동 이론 분야의 연구에 따르면 동일한 빨간색을 봐도 사람마다 그 색의 강도를 다르게 인지한다고 합니다. 마찬가지로 같은 어려운 상황에 놓여도 누군가는 위기인식을 더 빨리 느껴 성공에 대한 열망을 자극할 수 있지만 또 다른 누군가는 그럴 수 없을 수도 있습니다. 이러한 개인적인 차이로 인해 성공의 공식이 절대적으로 모두에게 적용되지는 못합니다. 그런데도 불구하고 성공을 위해 열망을 더 강하게 느끼라는 것처럼 모호한 조언보다는 더 나은 방법이 필요합니다. 예를 들어 A라는 사람이 손으로 무언가를 만드는 것을 좋아한다고 가정해봅시다. 그러나 어떤 활동을 할 때 가장 열망이 불타오르는지 판단하는 것은 매우 주관적이며 감정에 기반함으로 측정이 어렵습니다. 그러나 지금 이것을 측정할 수 있는 뇌과학적 방법이 개발되었습니다. 바로 이머전입니다. So how can individuals utilize the app and then apply it in their life?
Yeah, so the first is for businesses that want to create better experiences for their customers, better messaging, better in-person sales experiences, better education, better training. So we have clients in all those spaces. The only way to improve is to measure, and you have to measure what matters. And what matters is, how valuable is this to my brain? Don't ask me what you think or if I like it, right? That's some kind of consciously filtered people being nice. Oh yeah, you made this. Oh, of course it's nice, right? So you can't get that objective experience. But I think one of the most important aspects of what we've done since we spoke last time is really picked up a lot of applications in the digital health space. So as you know, mental health is disorders are exploding, right? If we think about the things that impact our ability to thrive, we've kind of resolved so many health issues with advances in medicine and public health. We still have heart disease and cancer, but that's because we're living so much longer. But mental health issues are just really compellingly bad. They're just exploding. So we have now businesses and increasingly health insurers who, for vulnerable populations, will give them a wearable and use alerts to remind people to connect to others, to build their emotional fitness, but also to use resiliency resources before they have a crisis. And I think that's really important. So really until now, mental health has been reactive. You're depressed, you're anxious, you have a problem, and then you seek help, maybe don't seek help. We want to be proactive before you have a crisis. Let's get you the help you need. That may be online help, that may be a check-in with a family member, right? All those things are actually possible once we can measure your emotional wellness. And I think this is where I'm excited about where we're going. And it's a beautiful thing about having a software platform, having discovered a general mechanism that allows us to determine how much your brain values something.
The more people who are using the app or device like Lumen, they use those devices to check their blood sugar level or pressure. And based on that, they decide what to eat or what to do. Then can I think of emergent technology and the app in terms of emotional wellness as something that will help them to measure and to decide what to do based on that?
Yeah, so let's think about healthy people. Now we have stress all the time. Stress itself is not bad. You need stress to be thriving, to be living. This is your brother-in-law sitting on the couch, drinking beer, playing video games all day. Not enough challenges. He's not engaging with life. And so those individuals tend not to thrive. They tend to not build social relationships. They don't have a sense of satisfaction from doing something important. So we want moderate, what we call challenge stress in our lives. And so a lot of the kind of mental wellness apps now just measure heart rate variability, which is a measure of chronic stress. So for people who have anxiety disorders, super valuable information. For the rest of us who don't have that, not very valuable, it turns out. It doesn't predict outcomes at all. So what we're measuring is the value of engaging with the humans around us, right? With the world around us. And once we have that data in particular, not only we can see it second by second, so that's my data coming in, That curve says I'm a little bit below baseline, and the background is my physiologic, psychological safety. I'm a little bit stressed. I'm in fall. If I was in winter, I'd be more stressed. If I'm summer, I'm relaxed. And now I see the time series, and the app connects this to my calendar. So I can begin to manage my own emotional wellness. Oh, look how happy I am now. Look, I'm really totally relaxed. I'm back at baseline. So I can manage my own emotional wellness by looking at what are the things I'm doing that give me lots of stress? What are the things they're doing that give me that connection, that energy, that challenge stress, which is good, that immersion where I'm loving life. Immersion is different than this psychological state called flow, but it's kind of similar. Immersion is a neurologic state. It's a neurologic data stream. Flow is kind of a self-reported, like, oh, I lost track of time, it was fun. But I think they're related to each other. We're getting data second by second, passively. And so you have an opportunity to really take control of your own happiness. Honestly, you know me pretty well. Most of my professional life has been developing knowledge and technology so that people can live happier lives. And to me, this is the pinnacle of all that 25 years worth of work, which is giving people a tool where they can say, hey, where am I? What's my stress level, my background, and how much value am I getting from this experience? Is it great? Is it not so great? And then I can start to figure out where I need to go. And importantly, we have a ring on how many social interactions you need to sustain your emotional fitness. That means you can build this up, and you can. By having those rich social connections, if I have a bad thing happen to me, I have someone I can call, I have people who care about me, I'm investing in relationships that help keep me emotionally healthy.
So how can people who just want to become more successful or make money using the emergent technology?
Part of it is learning how to form social connections. One of the downsides of technology that you suggested earlier was that we're spending so much time on screens that we're not spending time connecting. As a 4-time entrepreneur, I have found that the most important thing I do every day is talk to people. Talk to my colleagues at work. I talk to prospective clients. I talk to existing clients. I talk to researchers. If I'm not engaging with humans, I'm not going to be successful. I think we have a deficit in many young people who are so used to doing this that they can't just sit down and have coffee and have a nice conversation. So first thing is, if you're an unhappy person, if you're stressed out, no matter how successful you are, people don't want to be around you. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, you've got to be giving to other people. You've got to be investing. And certainly in Silicon Valley, near where I live, it's an amazing community where entrepreneurs are really supportive. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who also have startups who say, hey, what can I do to help you? So part of that is to understand that life is about service. Again, I'm calling this love in the general sense. And then the second is, as you build your business, really ensuring that employees are emotionally fit and physically fit, and they can bring their whole selves cognitively and emotionally to creating value for the organization, right? Employees want that. They want to do something that's valuable and important. They want people to depend on them and to be dependable. But if I'm beating you up so much that you don't go home till 2 a.m. every night, it's not going to work. So in the US, for sure, and probably South Korea, the war for talent is over. So I want to empower my employees, give them challenges, give them milestones. But if you want to work with a very cool team that wants to change the world for the better and get paid to do it, yeah, I want to talk to you. But I want to give you some tools so that you can sustain yourself physically and emotionally. If I don't do that, I'm just going to burn you out. So for example, classically in the US in investment banking, people would work 120-hour weeks. That's been gone for years and years. Young people, first of all, won't put up with it, and there's not enough humans. Grinding out hard and learning, spending a lot of time on the job is great. You've got to do that when you're young, but also learning how to modulate. There's work-life integration. We have to know when to turn it off. I think technology plays a part in that. When I was in graduate school, I went hungry some nights. I didn't have enough money for food, and I didn't have time to sleep. We've all gone through that and worked really hard. But at some point, when you have gone through that early stage, you go, okay, well, now I can actually integrate the knowledge I have and be a successful human being, not just a successful piece of human capital.
Can you share another anecdote or any case study that became successful? Last time you talked about like icebreakers, and then you gave numbers behind it.
Yeah, so one of our early subscribers was one of the major movie studios and had a giant, they call these tentpole movies, a movie that's very famous movie that came out a couple years ago with a robot-y thing. And they used immersion to measure roughs of about 8 different versions of the movie trailer. And they took the top 2 of those trailers and began to edit them. And then they tested those as they edited them to increase immersion. And then eventually launched this 3-minute theatrical trailer. And that movie ended up selling more than $1 billion of theater ticket sales. So immersion is like tension in your brain. And one way to get rid of that tension is to do something like buy a ticket. I think when we understand that we're kind of moving up the value ladder as we move up immersion, there's a very specific way to measure objectively what the brain values and create a desire to get more of that.
So for example, the successful businessmen or the one who are hitting the right spot, they actually have some kind of sense or they have a good gut feeling or something. Can somebody use the immersion to help their gut feelings?
I want to replace that. So there's a very small number of people who are continuously successful. Even your gut feeling could be wrong. So there's an interesting philosophical dilemma, which is if I, as a content creator, love this thing, it doesn't mean other people will, because you as a specialist are not normal. You're specialized in what you're doing. I want to actually see if other people resonate as strongly with this material as I do. Traditionally, we just ask people, do you like it? But liking doesn't predict anything, because if it did, 80% of movies wouldn't lose money year after year, and most TV shows only make it one season. Look, even Steven Spielberg, Lucas, have made dud movies, so no one bats 1,000%. What about having this superpower of really knowing what will excite people so much? Not only do they want to see your content, they'll share it. They want to re-experience it. So a great example of that is a movie that came out some years ago called Fault in Our Stars, kind of young adult movie. And the marketing to, in this case, mostly teenage girls was so effective that these girls would go in groups and see the movie over and over and over. So it's just like I think an $18 million budget movie that made over $150 million because they created experiences that these young women will want to have over and over and over. So isn't that what you want as a business person? You want people to not only have a great time now, but be so excited about the experience they had that they want to do it again and again and tell people about it. So that's the total win. And that happens when immersion is high.
So speaking of this, can you please share with us of using immersion in a good way, personal level and a company level?
So let's talk about specific applications. So one of the areas, my experiences in the US, this probably holds universally, but I don't know for sure, in which we have a fairly high incidence of depression, and yet we have patients who are less likely to report symptoms, so they're untreated. And so recently, one of the immersion subscribers was measuring continuously immersion and psychological safety, 8 to 10 hours a day, for old people living in a retirement home. And when we analyzed that data, and then the next morning we'd ask them about their mood, we're able to predict whether you're happy or sad, whether you have high energy or low energy, with 98% accuracy. And we can do that 2 days in advance. This is published research. If you Google my name, you can find it. So it's really, really powerful because, again, social withdrawal tells us that I'm not engaging in life. And that's when my mood declines. It's when I feel lack of energy. Again, we're going to have dips and peaks all the time. But if I see that you're staying in this valley for a long period of time, then I begin to worry that you're leading towards symptoms of depression. And so, very highly accurate, because as social creatures, we need social interactions, right? Loneliness. Last week, the Surgeon General of the United States released a large report on what he called the epidemic of loneliness. So I'm sure it happens in Asia as well. And so we have a lot of people that are just not getting enough social interaction, and it just substantially decreases not only the quality of their life, but the length of their life and their happiness, their ability to really thrive. And so how do we combat that? Well, I have a piece of technology that tells me, hey, you know what? You're not getting enough social interaction. Now, what's beautiful about this system, our need for social interaction is such a blunt system that I can actually get social interaction from watching a movie or playing with my dog or FaceTiming a friend. Like, all that still is social value for my brain. And if I can get enough of that for most days, I'm going to be emotionally healthy for the most part.
But before that,
Look at that. My picture's on there and everything. That's great. I love that. Oh, it's so beautiful.
We both know that you're handsome, and then the rest of the citizens of the earth know that you have a good-looking advantage.
See, I'll take that as long as I can. At 61, I'm happy to take any compliment you can give me. So